satisfying game, sing for the few.
The game is yours to play now.
The light provides.
This is Eventide Radio.
All right, start us off. We are live.
Alrighty, let me pull up the intro. Hello and welcome back to Eventide Radio. This is a fan-made Destiny podcast where we have roundtable discussions about a variety of different topics concerning the popular video game franchise. At its core, this show is by having in-depth discussions about the game from a variety of different perspectives. I'm your host, Scotty, with me are my co-hosts, Rob and Map, and today we are live on Twitch. If you are watching this live, thank you. If you are watching the VOD, thank you as well. And if you're listening on whatever podcast streaming platform that tickles your fancy, thank you as well. So today we're going to be talking about Revenant Act 3 just dropped a couple weeks ago. Two weeks ago, right? Two weeks ago. We're talking about Festival of the Lost. The new TWAB had some interesting information about the end of the episode information. Some other things about some changes that are coming in Heresy, etc., etc. But anyways, as we always do, before we get started, Rob, what have you been up to this week in Destiny?
A lot, quite a bit.
Nice.
Yeah, I know. I'm in a weird pickle right now where I'll get real for a moment. Like my clan is basically like dead, like legitimately. I know, Scotty, you play once in a while, but like you've always kind of been on the fringe because you're a busy guy.
Yeah.
But it is probably the most dead I've ever seen it. And there are times where I'm pretty sure I'm the only one who's logged in like that entire week. So I'm doing a little bit of soul searching and trying to decide if I want to go to a new clan, because it's like I actually want to do new, like I have a taste and desire to get into raiding again, because I want to do it because I enjoy it just from like it's fun to do aspect. And I can't get anyone on. Like the other day, I logged in to do the Skolas like final not secret, but like activity, because I wanted the title, but I also wanted to see if it had I had read that it had taken some spirit from the original Skolas fight, which I've always liked from D1. So I had to it was like pulling teeth trying to get two guys from the clan to at least do it with me. And then as soon as they were done, it was like, Iron Banner's on, like we're all logged in, might as well just screw around. And they're like, nah. So then they got off. And it's like that therein lies like sort of what's been the last like month or two. It was same with like last week when the previous week when the exotic mission came out. Like they ran the mission a couple times, they got what they wanted and they bailed, and then they came back a week later for the Skolas mission, and that's it. And like, so I'm kind of thinking about jumping ship, and I know that's maybe like an admission of like almost like infidelity at this point. Like I'm talking to other people, but I also like I'm just kind of like I still enjoy the game. I'm still having fun playing it. I still feel sort of obligated to, because like, we do a podcast on it and I like to be up to date with it. I'm still having fun with the game. Like I want to be clear about that. This isn't like a chore. Like I still like hopping into PvP. I still like doing challenges. I still like pursuing titles. That's kind of one of those things where I'm like, I don't have every title, but I have a lot of them. And I still find value and have fun in the game. And I'm trying to find people that still do as well. And, I think I have to look elsewhere. So I have been playing, like I've been trying to get kind of some of the weekly challenges completed that have been sort of on the fringe. I enjoyed the Skolas thing. There's still a couple weapons that I'm trying to get. Like, I don't know. I'm playing the game.
That's awesome. I mean, that's more than most people could say.
I was gonna say that is one of the responses to that is I'm playing the game. That's awesome. Like, yeah.
I mean that is great, honestly.
Well, and I'm enjoying playing it too. I feel like I want to add that caveat. Like I'm not. There's been times this season or episode or whatever the hell they're called now, where I definitely like dipped out because there was other stuff, and I've been trying to play some other games that I've kind of backlogged, and I have a coworker who's kind of twisted my arm into playing CS once in a while. So like I've been diversifying my time. And admittedly, there's a new season for Diablo coming out next week, so like I'll definitely be trying out some other things. But like I always have felt like Destiny is something that I can lean back on, and I frequently rely on it to still scratch a certain itch. So yeah. So yeah,
absolutely. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Matt, what about you? You been playing at all? I know you're sick, but
yeah, I did more mayhem off like on the Monday of last week.
Oh, good.
Oh yeah.
And then I that's why my stasis turrets in mayhem are a sin. The amount of games I had where that like 3 of people in the enemy team were running stasis turrets and they just throw them out, and it's just kind of boring.
Yeah, please
don't do that. And then I imagine if they did a suppressor one, that's a void one that suppresses you, over time, like Child of the Old Gods. If you stood in it long enough, suppressed you. I did obviously the exotic mission, and it's one of the exotic missions of all time.
We'll get into that.
And but at the minute I don't really want to play Trials. I don't, other than Mayhem, I don't really have a reason to play PvP at the moment. And I'm currently scratching my PvE and PvP itches elsewhere. I'm slightly looking forward to Heresy just because of the Dreadnought and that sort of thing. But currently there's nothing I want from the game in terms of something to grind for or anything like that. I just,
Sure. I get that. For me, I think I kind of have the same problem, Rob, where it's like some of my friends that usually play are playing other stuff. And I messaged our group chat. I was like, guys, let's, anyone want to play like Contest of Elders or like Expert Kills Falls, something like that? Some like fun, more endgame 3-person activity. And buddy of mine is like, yeah, sure. I mean, like, I'll get on. And we were playing Contest of Elders a little bit. And we ended up just like talking about other stuff. And we were like half paying attention to the game. And then we were like, let's go play Marvel Rivals. And then we played that with other friends for like a couple more hours. It's just, I mean, I definitely like play it here and there, but there's not a lot to, like you said, Mep, to grind for. There's like one gun I want right now.
There is like, I haven't grinded any of this season. I don't have a single good gun from this season because I just don't care.
That's fair.
None of the weapons this season excited me. It's got nothing to do with the fact that they're not red borders. I mean, I haven't technically grinded for a gun in forever because everything's a red border. So like that kind of took that away. That's a.
What about Rhyme Stealer Headstone?
I don't care. That sounds really mean, but like, I don't care. I'm at that point where gun rolls, I just don't care.
No, I get it. A lot of them are kind of samey, if you will, or not good.
Yeah. I feel like sound like a shill or something like that. I've actually
no.
Just about every
that's so good.
Just about every interesting weapon I have grinded for, and I know Matt, you and I kind of had this like back and forth at the beginning of the season of like whether or not red borders are good for the state of health and things like that. And I was pissed off at the beginning. I guess what I would say is like this season had everything kind of stacked against it from the beginning, right? With like the perk gate thing coming out. And then with the tonics not working, we've kind of talked about this also. I feel like that was like the last straw for a lot of people, and I think the community just kind of checked out. And it didn't matter if the weapons were good or if the content was interesting. It was like too much, like just one bad draw after another for the company, and they like people just fed up, and it's like. I feel like with the new season coming out or episode, like it's a good hard reset button, right? I think a lot of people are excited to come back to the Dreadnought, but it's like, we cannot have another season like this because it will be I'm not going to pre-order the next expansion if this is what is expected delivery. Like they cannot have we can't have tethers disabled for the dungeon for the entire season. That finally just got turned on, right? Like there cannot be something like that going into the beginning of Heresy, because people will see the patch notes, and if there's something that comes out on Twitter that says something was disabled because it's not working, or like if there's a revelation within the first week that some new mechanic is not operating the way it is, people are just not gonna like install the update and just move on to something else. Like this has to execute properly, and it needs to be pretty stinking flawless at launch, because it's like people are right on that hinge right now where it's like, well, I kind of checked out with this season, but I do like the Dreadnought.
I like how we've moved past calling them episode.
Because they're seasons. Like, they're episodic seasons, but they're still seasons. Like, they just broke them up, but it's still a season. Everything about it is so season-esque. I mean, we still talk about it as seasonal weapons, right? We don't call them episodic weapons. Like, this is weird. Someone in chat called it, it's a glorified season. You're absolutely right, Senpai Pyro. Welcome to the chat also, this first time chatter. You're absolutely right.
Didn't Bungie even call them a season on Twitter?
I think so. Yeah, they like slipped it out.
I mean, this season or next season, it's like
I get that. I think we talked about it one time where it was like it totally felt like a marketing play of like we'll rebrand it as something interesting.
I reckon, someone in marketing said let's do that, and everyone else just kind of looked at them like why, and then they had to do it. They just had to do it. And then even the devs are sitting there thinking this is dumb.
Right. Thanks for the follow, by the way, Senpai. I appreciate it. Welcome to the chat. Hope you're having a good day. We're just talking about the end of the season. We're winding down. If you have any thoughts, please share, and we'll definitely chat about it. We're doing kind of a short chat today, but we still want anyone input and thoughts. So, I will say I have grinded out a bunch of the weapons. Like I was like on the Izuvier hype train for a long time, where I really, really wanted that Rhyme Stealer headstone, and I did finally get one from the stupid seasonal rank packages, but I got one, and I haven't been enjoying using that. But like I really like stasis as a like mechanic in the game in terms of like an elemental thing to interact with. I like the keywords. I feel like they've found a pretty decent balance with it besides stasis turrets, which I agree with you, Map. I think they're dog shit in PvP. And I use Osmiomancy gloves, but I do not do stasis turrets in PvP because I think they're just annoying and frustrating. I think they don't die easy enough. Like you need to be able to.
No, I don't like. I don't. All right, I rarely see them in sixes. They occasionally show up in trials. It was just in Mayhem. For some reason, the last few weekends, I've just seen them everywhere. Like multiple at once is the pain point.
It's like finally people woke up one day and like I can have two of them and I can throw them whenever I want. Yeah. So I really like stasis, and so this has been a very stasis heavy. Like we had a first stasis glaive, which I grinded a bunch for, and I've been having a lot of fun playing with and doing like Karnstein armlets builds and just having fun with that. And Exuvier, the new scout rifle red tape, is also fun, and I've gotten a few rolls from that. I actually grinded for a PvP shotgun. The Void shotgun's pretty awesome, and I got a fun roll with that I've been enjoying. I like the two sidearms that we got this season, the Void one and Anonymous Autumn from Crucible, because I'm a sidearm shill, I guess, as well, according to Map. He's very opinionated about me. So I've grinded for a bunch of the weapons this season because I've actually enjoyed them.
It was. I get Anonymous Autumn every game in PvP.
Right, because it's the Crucible sidearm. Like next season, it'll be something else. See, I called it a season again. So I've actually enjoyed the grind for weapons. I do still think that I've kind of come to terms where it's like, if they don't want to do, like if they look back at red borders and weapon crafting as like it was a bad idea, I can accept that. I think at this point we've kind of gotten we're too far deep that there needs to be something that is somewhere in the middle. So Senpai has a good question that I'll bring up in a sec. I do think there needs to be some kind of middle ground. And I pitched this on Reddit the other day, and I didn't really get much of an interaction. I don't know if people didn't like the idea or not. But I think that you could still do some kind of, not a full-on reroll like we had in not Rise of Iron, in House of Wolves. But I do think we should be able to like reroll a perk on it or something like that. And I think there needs to be some kind of like, I think there's something you could do where it's still in the spirit of weapon crafting, but not full on crafting. Or I still stand by of crafting should have only a subset of the perks. And if there's certain specific ones that you like, combinations that you want, like you have to grind it and it has to be an RNG, but you can still get a 4 out of 5 through crafting or something like that. And
Sure.
the enhanced perks was a terrible idea. Okay. Senpai asked, and I want to bring this up because you guys talked about it right when we first started the stream. Any opinions on the free Adept Trials weapons from the tokens? And I feel like you probably don't have an opinion on this map, or maybe not.
Yeah, that's all you.
I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
If this was like D1 or Trials in the 9 or like when Trials first came back, I'd be like, oh, that's a bit weird. But Trials has been out for so long. I feel like it's just like a good gesture thing.
Sure.
I mean, I don't have the most recent Igni as Adept because I've stopped playing Trials, so I will pick that up.
Sure.
But I've got other ones, and it does. I mean, it doesn't really mean much. I don't think Flawless means much anymore anyway.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, it's one of those things where the longer it's out, obviously, the less prestigious it is in terms of like the competition wise. How some people feel about day one raid emblems and things like that, where it's like, oh, well, you've got the what's it one? Nezarec one, so it's worth less because more people got that than any other day one. So especially with like cheating and just like straight up carrying and things like that. Which happens in games.
Right.
Over time things lose like their value. And they did say they were talking about going flawless and things like that and changing that, which I do think they need to do because just no one's playing Trials.
Right. Yeah, they sorry, keep going.
But I was going to say it is quite ironic because this would probably make someone play Trials less. But
because they're giving out free Adept weapons, you think people just not even play? Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, that's an indication of it. I mean, you can tell as well. But then also it's like, say if someone who they want to go flawless just for the fact that they want a Trials Adept gun just to have, because they haven't before.
Right.
It's like now they've got one. So they're probably like, oh, I don't have to play Trials. Maybe it's not the specific gun that they wanted. But they've got one.
Right.
Yeah. Rob, what about you? How do you feel about
it? I mean, I kind of at this point, like the whole concept of Adept weapons has kind of like lost any luster or exclusivity when for the longest time we had so many GMs that were like a joke to farm for. So like there is part like an elitist part of me that's like, yeah, Adept weapons should have been always this like very like, oh, you have one, like that's a big deal. But the moment that like they became farmable, like comically easily farmable during certain seasons, I think you could translate that same sentiment over to Trials where it's like, I still think that there needs to be some kind of pursuit for the high end players that are like, albeit some kind of cosmetic item or a banner that you get or a shader or a glow or something that's like, you got this only because you are an elite Trials player and it's something to pursue and give them something to go after. That's like, but I think Adept weapons aren't it, because I think there's also this kind of like the rich get richer mentality where it's like only the best players get the best weapons and they're going to just get better at slaying you out. When it's like the fact of the matter is with the enhanced perk things that they've added where you can add range and stability to any weapon you want now, where it's like that sort of like elusive argument of why you even want to get an Adept weapon in the first place is kind of gone now. And so it's like, there's let people have them, especially if they're going to go away for a long time. I honestly thought that like I sort of thought the issue was resolved with the passage of persistence coming out, because I've been able to get a couple of Adept weapons by just where I'm like, I don't feel like actually trying at Trials. I just kind of want to play this so I can get some rank up packages and maybe get some other weapons. And I've been able to get some pretty awesome Adept weapons. Like I've got an amazing, I'm blanking on the name of the auto rifle right now. But I've got a really good Adept one of those that I got.
Summoner one?
Yeah, I got an amazing Summoner Adept that I got through a passage of persistence. and I'm more than happy with it. And it's like, I didn't have to go flawless. I had to put the time in, and it's still like, for some reason, that's not even enough for certain people, where it's like, I don't know what the solution is. Like, I know, and you alluded to this map that like DMG posted something on Twitter sort of applying like, well, what if we got rid of the requirement to go flawless to go to the lighthouse?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I'm not an elite trials player, but even I think that's kind of like, that should be the thing for going flawless. Like, yeah, you should be able to get the adept weapons, but
I think the chip has sailed on trials.
I think so. And I think at this point, they're just trying to get whatever they can back into the player, like the pool of people playing. And if that means
maybe what they'll do is, depending on how many losses you have, is the chance of you getting, like, so you go flawless, you get the adept gun,
right,
guaranteed. Each loss you have, a bit of percentage comes off.
Could be.
So it goes down. So it goes from like one loss is 50% chance to get it,
right,
and then so on and so on and so on.
I
don't know.
I think you're giving them too much credit. I am predicting that the passage of persistence is just going to let you go to the lighthouse now. Like, where is before the only reward once you hit 7 wins was you got the adept weapon. I'm guessing now it's just at 7 wins, like, oh, you're allowed to go to the lighthouse, and you can get those rewards now too, where it's like a chance at the ship and like that kind of stuff. So it's like, like where it's like you because again, with persistence, you still have to put the time in, you still have to get to 7 wins, you still have to get some combination of like wins in a row in order to advance the card. So it's not just a handout, like you still have to put the time in. And I could see that being just sort of the like, well, if you do that now, you can just go to the lighthouse. That feels on par right now with about the amount of laziness that it feels like has been put into this kind of stuff. And I feel like that's all that it's going to be. Like, I know they were alluding to something more, and they might have more trials changes, but there's a cynical side of me that's like, that's all that they're going to do. So are
these adept weapons? I forget. Are these like fixed rolls that they're giving?
No, they're not. So there's a second perk in. Is it the second column on adept weapons for trials? And then I think it's a second perk in the first column for like nightfall adepts. Okay. And then when you masterwork it, you get +2 stats in +2 or +3 stats in all of the stats, in addition to the 10 that you get in whatever you masterwork. And then you can put the adapt mods on there, right? So if you can just get a flat +10 range or +10 stability or like +10 handling or whatever. But again, with those new mods that we've gotten, where as soon as you advance, you upgrade it to tier 1, you can put +5 range and +5 stability, which is arguably better than just +10 range on a weapon, right? So it's like there's no, I don't know, they've sort of like power crept it. I know that seems to be kind of the theme of all of this, but that seems to be kind of what the problem is like the adept weapons don't really mean anything anymore when it's like, I don't know, like, they're cool looking. They have like an alternate kind of like shader to them, but most weapons you shade anyway. So if they shaded differently with default shaders, I could see that, like, but they don't. So it's like, if you're going to put chatter white on everything or super black on everything, it doesn't matter if it's adept or not, right? Like there's just weird things where it's like, oh, this is elusive, but then it's like the community just sort of overwrites it with the stupid things they do anyway. So what does it matter?
Yeah, that's it.
I do genuinely think that they'll do that with the flawless, where maybe it's a percentage.
It could be. I could see that. And that would be kind of interesting, where it's like, there's still a slim chance and you have to put the time in, you're still getting rewarded. Like, either way, I don't necessarily know if at this point giving people essentially like loot for free is even enough to like bring people in anymore. I think there's too many differing like opinions on what direction the game should be going in. I think people are just genuinely burned out. I think there's a lot of people that are just like, well, after the conclusion of the story, I'm just done. Doesn't matter what they do. Getting to go to the lighthouse for just playing the game. Like, there was people maybe 2 or 3 years ago who were down for that, but we're way past that point. Like, I don't really know what the solution is. And like, to go back to like, to Senpai's. So Senpai was asking is, there's a lot of people complaining about the exclusivity that they're losing. And that kind of goes into what you're saying, Map, where it's like, yeah, that maybe made sense a few years ago, but with the blatant cheating and how long Trials has been out and how much they really haven't Yeah, and now he's saying it would take a lot of reverses and changes for people to come back, and I agree with that. I think I don't know where, like, what era they would have to go back to get people in, but I think it's just like, I don't know, unless it's something substantially. I know we always make jokes where it's like all it takes is like one good trailer and you've hooked people back in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case, right? You, like, Frontiers could have the coolest reveal trailer or stream, and I don't think people are going to throw money at the screen like they used to anymore. Not now, not after. And again, we still have to remember, like, Final Shape came out, it was amazing, and there's still layoffs at Bungie. And I think that also just sort of like permanently gut punched a lot of people that are just like, I don't want to engage with this company anymore.
Cause
like
we sat here singing its praises, and then like a few weeks later we were sitting here going, oh, there's been another round of, a second set of layoffs has hit the fucking Bungie HQ. Like I don't. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. Like, even the people, because I remember people were asking me who don't really play Destiny anymore, or don't play Destiny. They were like, "Oh, I heard the Final Shape was really good," and I was like, "Yeah, it's probably the best story that they've done." And it's a, blah 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 blah. I know some people who bought it, like, because I said it
came back and bought it just because they heard good thing.
Yeah. And then one of my friends bought the collection thing, so they could play because they last played Shadowkeep, so they could play all the way up until thingy. And we just never got around to it because it was just like, oh, layoffs.
Right.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It just feels bad.
The graph that every game has, the we're so screwed to we're fucking back.
Yeah.
That is just all over the place at the minute.
Right.
But when is going to be the we're so back moment for Destiny?
Probably
for a lot of people at D3.
It would be, I think, at D3.
We haven't had a we're so back moment since Final Shape. So
yeah. Even then, I think that was a temporary we're so back, because I think there were a lot of people that are like, I want to see how this ends. All right, it was pretty good, but like.
I mean, a lot of people were like, yeah, I want to see how it ends, but if this is going to be their content going forward, like that quality, then, great.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't blame a lot of people either. It's like,
not only were there layoffs right before it, so people were like, they won't be able to do that again. Then there were layoffs after it, so people even more like, oh, well, they definitely can't do that again.
Right.
So shifting gears really quick, because I want to touch on it before we're after tip. Kel's Fall.
Yes.
I want to talk about it because I have thoughts on it. It's an interesting, exotic mission that came out, and it's interesting that Act 3 kind of entirely consisted of play Kel's Fall, and that was the whole mission. But I think the most important comparison that people are making right now is just they're comparing it to what was it called? The Choir of One. Encore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you guys feel about Kel's Fall? And then how did it kind of stack up against Encore? I know you guys, I don't think either of you particularly cared for Encore. So I'm curious if it kind of, I don't know, exceeded your expectations after Encore, or...
I think I kind of like forgot it.
Yeah.
If someone went, what happens in Encore? I'd be like, I don't remember. It was fine. I think the main thing that pissed me off is I forgot that they do the let's replay the mission each week over and over, but now the thing is no longer time gated. It came out all at once. So it was like, I want to finish the story. I just finished the exotic mission. What does it want me to do? Oh, it wants me to redo the mission after I just did it. Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah. Especially 3 times. And I thought
so I just looked up the ending on YouTube. Like I imagine what happened was the feedback for them time gating stuff. I mean, they've always been given back feedback about time gating stuff, but the decision finally went through after the season was already done. And they were like, we could just release it all at once to stop the people who want less time gated stuff complaining. because I imagine going forward, what they'd probably do with that in mind is they wouldn't make you replay the thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but yeah, I just didn't want to. So I just looked up the last cutscene on YouTube. I just couldn't. I just didn't want to because I knew it'd get spoiled eventually.
I think a lot of people did that. And I think I was kind of expecting like, oh, maybe like each time it'll like change a little bit, right? It'll be a little bit different. Maybe we'll get like that different, I don't know, boss fight.
Different mirror.
The puzzle will change slightly or something. But it's pretty much the same thing. All
Dialogue shifts, but
yeah, but like whatever.
Yeah. The dialogue's good though. The thing that I feel like they've got. I remember when Destiny came out and it was like the dialogue and the writing was terrible. That was like the main, and the story was shit. And the dialogue sounded like, you know, someone was half-assed recording it in a toilet somewhere. And now we've actually got good characters and interesting dialogue and stuff for them to say. But the mission, I get that's controversial, but compare it to how it was, right? You know, you've got interactions where Thingy is translating what the trickster is saying to you, and it's like insults. It's funny and stuff like that.
Speaking of the trickster, off topic, but I think it's so funny that, you know, when you're running through Kelswall and you are killing all of the different barons, and Fickrell revive them right in front of you just to like demonstrate how powerful he is, and he can resurrect whoever he wants. You're like, oh my gosh, you could resurrect people. And then you kill the trickster, and she's the only one who Fickrell like doesn't resurrect in front of you. She's just like, nah, fuck the trickster. No one cares about her. And you just keep going.
I did like the fact that she showed up multiple times. Like she just like the boss room's getting a bit hectic, especially if you're soloing it. I don't mean it's not hard, but like if you're soloing it and then she just makes an appearance, it's like, oh, you know, that's cool. That was like a bit, I genuinely thought that was a good idea. And the mirror thing is cool. It looked nice. But it was cool how they've made the tower in it, you know, like the spirals, but it is just a reused part of Last Wish. But yeah.
Rob, what about you? Did you enjoy Kel's Fall?
Maybe this is like the unpopular opinion. I enjoyed it a lot. I have subsequently gone back and played it quite a few times. I liked it way more than Encore. I don't disagree about the having to play it 3 times, but the mission was substantially shorter and a little more action paced, to the point where I wasn't frustrated that we had to run it back 3 times just to finish it. Because
traversal going on.
Yeah, you could like by the 3rd time we ran it, we did it in less than 20 minutes because we knew exactly what we needed to do. We'd kind of optimized loadouts for the engagements, and we were able to just sprint through it. Like, so that first night, I think we ran it like 6 times because we ended up getting all the catalysts and all the secrets and like beat it on expert and all that stuff. And I really enjoyed it. And then the next night I went back and just did it solo to see if I could, and like did it because it was way less cumbersome. Like the Encore had a cool idea with like the weird puzzle where you had to like find the key sequence in the right order and move the ball around, and each one did kind of a different thing. And like, it was cool for a first time experience, but replay value was shit. And I feel like it's a problem they've had for a lot of those missions. Even what was the one for Vexcalibur? That one's,
I didn't even play that.
That one's pretty.
That was the Lightfall one, wasn't it?
Yeah, that one's. It's a cool mission, but that one's super tedious as well. And like, I have no desire to go back. Now, where does this stack up for something like Whisper of the Worm or Outbreak or Presage? Which I think Presage might be my favorite of all of those because. I
think it might be too,
it's the first time that they did like actual like horror really well, and like in like a really creepy, cool, like I've run that mission by myself multiple times just because it's like weird and fun and like you turn all the lights off in your room and you kind of curl up and it's like scary and like like it's awesome. Like not many other things have captured that same kind of tone and feels so like it feels like Destiny, but it's still like weird, you know. And so I like this quite a bit. And I've had a couple friends that are like, oh, I still need to do the mission. I'm like, saddle up, I'll run that with you in a heartbeat, because it's like I like the exotic shotgun. Like, it's cool. It's fun to use. Like, I know people are like, oh, it's not super OP, and we have Graviton Lance, and it's like, yeah, that's true. This deals with champions though, at least. And it has some kind of fun interactions, and I've been having fun just kind of playing around with it. Like, it's a new toy to play with, and so I really like the mission. I do agree that I think if they do this again, it needs to be, you have to do it once on normal and once on expert to unlock everything. Or make it short like this, where if you do have to run it a few times, it's not a pain in the ass. Cause like I'll never want to go back and run Encore. Like, I've got friends that want to run that because they don't have the catalyst. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to though. Like, it's a slog. And I know it was really funny because before that mission came out, they had all this marketing of like, it's the biggest play space we've ever made and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, that doesn't matter if no one's playing the mission or is miserable, or they're not exploring it in the way that you thought they would. Whereas this, like, it's short and sweet and has a very directed, like, there's still some cool stuff to explore, and like the thing with the organ is really cool, or the scorgan. Like, that's a fun little just kind of thing to play around with, and people have already made videos like playing songs with it and stuff. Like, super cool. Super cool.
That is good for the community.
Right. Like, that kind of stuff is what we need to be pursuing. Because I think it has more like staying value. But I really like the mission. I know people were kind of whelmed by the shotgun and annoyed that they had to do the mission 3 times, but it's like, at least it wasn't a slog like Encore. Like, that's, and I enjoyed it. I the only thing that really draw this to the forefront, and I still get annoyed by this, because the Trickster's like the best example of this, how much they turn into like a smoke cloud and you can't damage them for
oh my god
way too long of a time. Like, there needs to be, if they do that, there needs to be something in our toolkit that we can like stop them. Like, if we like slow them with stasis, or like certain keywords need to like break that cloud, because it's so frustrating.
It's like the fight that they're invulnerable.
Right. Yeah. Where it's like, because I remember at one point when I did it solo, like, I would tag her with Dragon's Breath, and then she would turn immune. And so then the whole time it's not damaging her. It's like, what is happening? Like, it's so frustrating. Yeah,
it is.
But
I agree.
It's fine.
So I have to dip out, but I know this was a short episode. Do you guys want to stay on and talk, or would you rather just hop on Destiny and stream or something? Or
I'll have to sort dinner out soon, so I can talk for a bit more. But
okay,
it's up to you guys.
It was just me talking to a black screen, but that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, so
looking for the voices.
If you guys are gonna stay on, I'll let you talk, but I'll close out. I'll add my thoughts on Kel's Fall really quick. So I like it too. Like I said, I echo your sentiment, Rob, that it's quick, it's short, it's to the point. So playing it 3 times isn't too bad. I think maybe I'm just like super stupid, but I got lost in the Undercroft the first time.
Good.
The like red area. Oh my god, I was lost there for like way too long. But once I figured out how to do it, it was good. But I did it blind, and I was just lost for so long in there, which was kind of annoying. But I think it's cool. I don't agree that the dialogue is great. I think it's been a lot better. We can touch on the story later, but this I don't love the ending. I don't love the dialogue during.
Oh, I didn't mean that cutscene. I just meant in the dungeon itself. Like,
okay, that's fair. That's fair. I think the mirror thing is fine. I don't think it's as interesting as some people are making it out to be. It's just like you go into another place and then you pick up some stuff and you go run back. And I thought it was going to be a little more puzzly, but it's very, very much straightforward. I don't know if it's
that was
the intention, but I kind of thought like it would be a little more puzzle-esque. Like I thought I was going to have to do a little more thinking, but you just kind of run in and you grab stuff and you run back out. And I was like, all right.
Yeah, I thought
Fair
it
enough.
might. I thought it was going to maybe be something more like duality, where it's like you change between the two worlds, and like
Yeah,
like there's like
so
a
what you do in that world affects like the other world,
Right.
or something like that. But,
yeah. I the first time I was kind of expecting that, where I'm like, oh, where it's going to be like, oh, you can't traverse this section in the real world, so you have to go through the pink world, and that door is not going to be there. But then you go back, you activate a switch or something, and it opens it up, so then you can traverse through it in the normal world. I was expecting that to happen, so I was definitely like, oh, okay, it's a little more simple than that, but like that's okay. Like maybe, like I don't know, maybe we don't need something so crazy insane, especially if you're gonna have to run it back 3 times. Like, because again, the encore mission, because the whole sequence where you have to trade the balls around to open up the gates, and like. It doesn't change week to week, or doesn't change an expert. So you're just doing the same thing and going through the same motions 4 or 5 times in a row. And it's like, this is irritating. And the fact that we didn't have to do it 3 weeks in a row, like we could get it all done in one sitting is a huge blessing. Like we played the heck out of that mission in one sitting, but it was not frustrating. So.
All right, I'm going to dip out.
Yep.
This was swell. I think Senpai sent another message in that chat, though. So,
yep. I
All
agree,
right.
Senpai. Get rid of damage gates. We're always sick of those. It's annoying. Later, Scotty. Thanks for joining
peace
us.
out, gentlemen.
We'll talk to you later.